to the Marketing Pulpit Show, and I am Robert Gatewood, your host. We are here every Friday at 10:30 a.m. bringing you the good of marketing gospel. We're not saving souls, we're saving businesses, saving jobs, saving our community. Now, if I happen to save a soul along the way, don't hold that against me. We'll just call that icing on the cake. Now, the mission at Marketing Pulpit Show is to build strong businesses in our community so that we can put our people to work. And we do that with business development, job creation, and service. So if you ever find yourself in a business crossroads and not sure which way to turn, just welcome to the Marketing Pulpit Show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host, and we are here every Friday, bringing you the good marketing gospel. We're not saving souls, we're saving businesses, saving jobs, saving our community. I'm Robert Gatewood, and I am a business developer by trade. I help folks succeed in business. That's what I do. That's what I've been doing for the past 30 years, and I will continue to do so. And I am happy that I have this platform to let people know that this information is available, and whether you hire my company or not, which is Gatewood Marketing and Web, or if you go out and find this information somewhere else, it has to be received. You cannot succeed in business if you don't have a basic understanding of marketing. And so that's why every Friday I'm sitting up here telling you about the Marketing Pulpit and giving out this advice. So thank you again for tuning in. For everybody who's tuning in for the first time, I say welcome. Thank you for joining us. And for all of the regular folks who tune in every week, I say thank you to you. I see some people tuning in here like Brother Brown, the greatest plumber in town. I see Marilyn Platinum, she's a comedian. And I see some others tuning in. So thank you again this morning for joining the Marketing Pulpit. I'm also an adjunct professor at Prince George's Community College, where I teach marketing, I teach networking, I teach social media strategies, digital marketing. And so once again, I'm trying to fulfill this purpose of mine to cut down on the failure rate of businesses in our community. And to do that, we have to get the information. Okay. I'm also working with the Small Business Administration as a consultant, as a technology consultant. And I've written a couple of books, Smarter Than the Boss and Played in Full. Folks, the information is out there. Now, if you don't get it, that's on you. And I know some people, sometimes they say, look, I don't have enough money to hire a guy like Gatewood. Hey, okay, I'm not cheap. It's all relative. But the information, some information is so important that not being able to afford it is not a good enough excuse. You can't say, look, I can't eat because I can't afford it. You're going to have to eat whether you can afford it or not. Same thing when it comes to marketing your business. We have an exciting show today. We're going to talk about, later in the show, we're going to talk about likability. Can your likability or lack thereof affect your bottom line? There's some folks out here that just might not do business with you because they don't like you. That's their problem, right? Well, it could be, it might not be. So you want to tune in. At the second half, we're going to talk about likability. There is a strategy to this, and it's not something you can ignore because likable people get more work, plain and simple. So we're going to talk about that later on. We also got a lot of things to talk about in our news. We're going to talk about the continuing saga of the slap heard around the world, and now the pushback from Chris Rock, and he came back swinging. Woo! We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about these people going down to the DR and to Mexico to get the tummy tucks and BBLs. And man, I'm telling you, we have a lot to talk about today. So get ready. We're also continuing our celebration of Women's History Month. And I've been a big proponent of supporting equal pay for women and making sure women get their just due because it's very important that we honor and respect people who are out here doing it, regardless of your gender. And I've stated before that I think if the people who are running the shops, like men, for instance, are not giving women their due, that seems like a conflict of interest to me. You can't be the one calling the shots and then paying yourself more money. It doesn't seem right to me. But see, Robert Gatewood just happened to say what's on his mind. Sometimes people agree with it, sometimes people don't, but that's not my concern. Okay, I just have to say what I have to say. Also, we're going to talk about some other items in the news. So get yourself comfortable. Now, also, I'd like to thank our sponsor, BLE Executive Suites. They have their 3 locations in the DC area: Largo, National Harbor, and College Park, which is a hub zone.
And they also have a First Friday networking event. They had one this past week. Great output, great turnout. Just trying to get people together because sometimes you need those stakeholders, and networking is the best way to do it. To get those people in the room, to rub shoulders with the folks who are making the decisions. And also, Miss Bernadette Clay, I want to thank her for being able to provide this information. She's willing to share the information that she has honed that made her successful. And so she's willing to share that information. To find out more about BLE, call them at 301-322-1700 or go to blesweets.com. Also, they have a special now. You can get 2 free months of mailbox and business address services when you sign up for one of their plans. That's a good deal. It's over $100 worth of free services. And for somebody who's just starting out in business and trying to put that good brand out there, that perfect image, somebody's answering your phone, these nice conference rooms, your kitchen. I mean, what really impresses me when I bring a guest to the office, these nice professional receptionists, they giving my clients coffee and water and escorting them into these nice, luxurious conference rooms. And the price is almost a fraction of what you would pay if you went out and got this on your own. So call them at 301-322-1700 or go to blesweets.com. Tell them Gatewood sent you and get those 2 free months. All right. Also, we have our web services, gatewood.biz. If you need a domain name, hosting, if you need a SSL certificate, got a 24-hour hotline if you have a question or a problem. It's in the community. You don't have to go to these folks out in Pakistan and who knows where else to get these services. You have it right here in the community. And if you don't do anything else, set up yourself a free account and register your own personal domain, your name. If your name is John Smith, go to gatewood.biz, set up a free account, register your name, because you never know when you decide to run for president or something like that. And you don't want somebody to get your name who might have a nefarious intent. So that's gatewood.biz. So let's support the businesses that are coming up. We're going to have our marketing pulpit business directory launching this month. So you can put we're going to be promoting your business right here on this airways with everybody else. We also want to thank the people over at Radio 1, Miss Kathy Hughes, that allow us on this platform where we're broadcasting all over the world through Radio 1 95.9 FM in the Washington, D.C. area. But you can get the show anywhere in the world with their app. Go to the app store and just type in WL. All right, so we got all that out the way. Let's get down to business here. Let's talk about some business news, what's happening in the news. Our war in the workplace continues, but I want to get to this story. Let's talk about this story about Chris Rock and Will and Jada Smith. Chris Rock had his performance on Netflix called Selective Outrage in Baltimore. And I'm not taking sides on this ordeal. I'm just going to put that up front, okay? I think we should all just get along like Rodney King said. But I do have some observations. We do understand, and we saw with our own eyes, that Chris Rock was humiliated in front of the entire world over a joke he told about Will Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett. Now, Chris's family, his brothers, his children, they were also traumatized as a result of this offense. Okay? When you're being violently attacked in the national stage, that can be very traumatic. And regardless how much Will and Jada may have been offended by this, I don't condone a physical attack on somebody in the Oscars or anywhere else for that matter. And if you must attack the person, let's do it in private. Okay, you don't have to do it in front of the world. I think Chris Rock had a right to respond in the time and place and method of his choosing. He could have pressed charges, or he could have gotten violent. I mean, his brothers, Tony and the rest of them, they ready to go get Will, but that didn't happen. Okay. Now that I have to say, okay, that could have been the end of it. But I have a couple of problems with Chris Rock's response. Okay, I don't approve of him using the B word when referring to Jada Pinkett Smith. I think back on Donald Trump, as badly as he behaved during his time in office. The thing I had the most derision for was when he called Omarosa a dog. I said I was done with him after that. I mean, this guy was doing some horrible things. But to me, that was the red line in the sand. Men shouldn't be calling women dogs. Okay. So, Chris, regardless of how angry you were, actually, Jada didn't actually slap Chris Rock. It was her husband. And she's not responsible for what her husband does. So I know some people don't like Jada. They say she probably deserves it. She has some kind of spell over Will. All of that may be, or maybe may not be true. But I still don't approve calling women dogs and B words, okay? Finally, I'm not a fan of this quote that we shouldn't fight or act up in front of white people. To me, that mic dropping moment gives more sensibilities to a certain group of people. I don't think you should fight in front of anybody. Don't fight in front of me. I don't think white people deserve any special privilege that you shouldn't fight in front of them. I said don't fight in front of anybody. Okay? So that's my take on this event. I hope that finally Chris Rock and Will Smith and Jada will finally bury this hatchet, move on. We've got bigger things to worry about. Okay, we got Ron DeSantis down here in Florida trying to turn back the hands of time and erase history, and who knows what else is going on there in the Congress. So let's take this energy and funnel it towards something positive. So thank you, everybody who's tuning in. Good morning, Attorney Bradley Thomas. Glad to see you this morning. Good morning, Brother William Maxwell. And he said he's glad to see the director is coming back. All right, well, thank you again. Now let's talk quickly before we go to break. This thing of these people going down to Mexico. We talked last week. I mean, I couldn't have scripted this. We talked last week about a grandmother of 11 going somewhere and getting a botched BBL and died. I mean, it was on last week's show. And before I can get off the air good, here we have 4 people going down to Mexico to escort a young lady who's getting a tummy tuck. As a result, 2 young black men are dead. One is shot 3 times in the leg. Of course, the young lady is traumatized. Now, I'm not going to beat up on the victims because they've been traumatized enough. But I do have a message for us. Let's focus on making ourselves better, and let's don't put so much emphasis on this outer shell of who we are, of what we look like. People are spending a lot of money to look like us, to take our shapes and our figures and our lips, and we're spending all this money to look like somebody else. I don't like it. We're going to take a quick break coming up, and when we come back, we'll finish this story, and we're going to talk about likability. We're going to talk about likability right here on the marketing pulpit. And if I can finish this, so let's just hang on for a second. We'll be back in a minute. This is the Marketing Pulpit. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host. We are here every Friday at 10:30 a.m. bringing you the good marketing gospel. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in a We're back. Thank you again. This is the Marketing Pulpit Show. I'm Robert Gatewood, your host, and we are here every Friday at 10:30 a.m. bringing you the good marketing gospel. We're not saving souls, we're saving businesses. My dad was a Baptist preacher. He was the soul saver. I'm just here trying to save some businesses and put us on the right track because something's going to be here before you know it. And we'll be loading our kids up in our cars, our luxury automobiles, taking them to somebody else's community, begging for jobs. That's not right. That's never going to be right to me, and I'm going to fight it as long as I have breath in me. I want our business to succeed in our community, and we do that with business development, job creation, service, and you have to understand marketing. As a matter of fact, coming up in this month and all the way through next month, I'm going to be giving quite a few lectures on branding, digital marketing, networking, starting this month at Employ Prince George's over at National Harbor. Going to be doing a course on the 21st on the power of business branding. And then next month, man, I'm going to be packed. Matter of fact, one day I have two courses in the same day. I'm going to be at the Bowie Innovation Center where they have the women's business, women WMB business place for women. And then later in that evening, I'm going to be at Prince George's Community College talking about digital marketing. And so get this information. It's out here. It's out here. It's out here. Just don't let your company fail because for lack of knowledge. We were talking about some of these items that were happening in the news, the young men and women who went down to Mexico, and 2 people perished, and 1 was injured. And then, of course, Chris Rock and Will Smith. So just go back, if you missed the part, just go back and catch the early parts of the show. So let's get into our topic for today. We're going to talk about likability. I'll tell you something, I think what made this topic come up. My topics usually come from real life experience, things that are happening to me in the course of a week. I was talking to a client, matter of fact, I think Friday or Saturday, and he was telling me about all these. Matter of fact, he had just retired, and he was trying to give me some advice if I decided to retire one day. He said, Robert, because you are so likable, you can just go out here and drum up the business and pass it off to somebody else. And he kept saying, because you were so likable. I mean, I never knew he felt that way about me. But he kept driving the point home. And this guy is probably a millionaire a few times over. And I worked for him from the beginning of his inception of his business, which is very common with my clients. When I started working with somebody, when you start succeeding, you want the guy that's helping you succeed to stick around. So that's why I still work with folks like Joe Madison. I've been working with about 25 years now. Neely Fuller. I mean, these are some big name people, but they understand that once you get somebody and things are working, don't let things keep happening. And I know for a fact that likability plays a role in people's decision to do business with you. And you hear people say, look, hey, I don't care if people like me or not. But I tell you, with that attitude, you're probably going to get your wish. And I'm not saying that you want to go out here and try to make people like you. I don't do that. But what I will do is make myself likable. There is a difference. Okay? And if you're part of that crowd, say, look, I don't care if people like me, you're making things a lot harder on yourself than they need to be. Okay? You can't control whether somebody likes you or not. Some folks just gonna dislike you just because you're living, because you're taking in air. They don't like your color. They don't like your way you speak. They don't like your hair. You can't worry about those folks. But for the regular folks, you want to make yourself likable for the ones that do want to like you. Okay? Some people just have it in them. They're just born likable. Or their parents taught them to, they didn't necessarily teach them how to be liked. They taught them certain qualities and characteristics that make you inherently likable. Things like respect, and they drilled it in them early. They weren't doing it to make this person so people just like them. They did it, and the end result was that people liked them more than somebody else. Okay, and then there are people who are just kind of trying to find a nice way to say this. It's kind of hard to like. And I'm not going to, because sometimes people had some traumatic experiences that made them a little, life was hard on them. And they kind of carried that into adulthood and into their business lives. By the same token, some people started out unlikable. And sometimes life will make you more likable based on experience. I mean, I use my own example. I don't think I was that likable when I was young. I think I was a little jerk. I came out of college, got a high paying job, and I just thought I was the top stuff. I had no patience. I wasn't necessarily kind. Boy, but life got a hold of me. I got beat up by a gang. I got held up at gunpoint and tied up in the back room of a store. I was in a car accident where the car was upside down. They had to pull me out the roof or the side or some way. And that just kind of shook me. I said, look, I think I might need to change my attitude. And people that know me from the beginning, they said, Robert, you're not the same guy you were. You're a very nice guy now. When did that happen? Well, looking down the gun of a barrel sometimes will do that to you. But that's another story for another day. Now, point is, if you are more likable, you are more likely to get certain things you want in life. You're trying to get this contract. You're trying to get this person to marry you. You're trying to get this, be accepted by this group. It's good to be likable. Now, on March 15th, there's a, I don't give a celebration, but the Ides of March. It came from a Macbeth play, Julius Caesar, where they stabbed this guy, Julius Caesar, because I guess his BFFs didn't care too much about him. They stabbed him in the back and a few other places. And I wonder, sometimes I always wondered that his likability or lack thereof contribute to his stabbing. Because when people look at your back, they're either going to stab it or pat you in it. I mean, if I had to give them a choice, I'd rather be pat on my back than stab me in it. But your likability can help people decide which one they're going to do. Somebody know what I'm talking about this morning. Now, so on this eve of the Ides of March, I'm going to give you some tips on how to be likable. I'm not trying to make you be liked, okay? I can't control that. But there are some steps that will make you more likable when you're trying to get that contract or some other big opportunity. Number one, listen. Learn to listen. And listening means don't just sit there and wait for your turn to talk. Listening means hear what the person has to say. Nod, do things to let them know that you're listening. That's number one. Number two, smile. I mean, you see some folks, it's like they is ready to beat you up. I'm not going to give you my money if I feel like you're going to beat me up before I get out the room. So learn to smile. Sometimes you have to stand in front of the mirror and look at yourself. And particularly as you age, you start cracking 50 and 60, your eyes kind of, and your mouth kind of go into a frown posture. You're not even frowning. You don't think you're smiling. You don't think you're frowning. So go just look in the mirror one day and see if you're looking like you're angry. And you can fix it by just putting on a smile. Learn to empathize. Empathize means putting yourself in other people's shoes for a minute. Try to understand why they are the way they are. Empathy can carry you a long way in human relations, okay? Another one is be respectful. Don't yell, don't call names, don't spread rumors, none of that stuff. All that stuff is disrespectful. Be respectful if you want to be likable. Okay, be sincere. Don't BS and gaslight. That means when you say something, be sincere in what you're saying. Be modest. People love this. Be self-deprecating. Don't be a braggart. I mean, okay, you have some good breaks in life. That's good. But that doesn't make people like you necessarily when they're trying to get to know you. If you're modest and let them find out on their own, they're going to be a lot more appreciative and find you more likable. Be helpful and kind. Shouldn't have to say this. I mean, some of these things, sometimes I pin these things on my wall because in case I forget one day. I mean, I see somebody, if I can help them, I'm not going to put myself in jeopardy or peril, but sometimes it doesn't help you at all. It doesn't hurt you at all to be helpful and kind to people. It makes you likable. I'm talking about now, when I'm telling these things, you saying, well, look, I am who I am. Well, that's nice. I'm not saying do stuff to make you liked. I'm saying these are human characteristics that everybody should embrace that makes you likable. There's nothing political about this, has nothing to do with your race, your stature in life. These are just human characteristics that will make people more likely to want to deal with you. and you're talking about trying to make some money, you should take note, okay? Let's talk about be polite. Thank you, please. Open doors. Let people finish their sentences when they're talking to you. These things make you likable. Be honest. Don't cheat people. Don't price gouge people. Don't tell lies. And last but not least, be fair. Don't try to get over on people and go for the win-win. Okay? Now, like I said, you can't make yourself backstabber proof, but what you can do, because some people just going to stab you in the back for no other reason than the fact you have a back. But what you can do is make yourself less likely a target. You walk around unlikable, you got a target on your back big as a Volkswagen. So we're going to, as we wrap things up here, I just want to say, if you have any chance of being liked, you need to be likable. You can't control whether somebody likes you or not, but you can decide to be a likable person or a jerk. The ball is in your court. Et tu, Brute, as Julius Caesar said. All right, folks, that's going to wrap it up for today. I want to say hello to some folks. Colette, welcome to the show. Brother Brown, welcome to the show. And thank you for all of your comments. Colette is co-signing on Please Smile. Platinum say, I will never see my back the same. That's funny. Colette is co-signing. That is the Eyes of March coming up. And so everybody tuning in today, thank you very much. We're going to wrap it up. We'll be back next week at the same time. And if you want to be successful, you got to do these three things. Do the right thing, do it at the right time, and you have to do it right. Enough talk. Let's get to work. People have advised us over the years not to bite the hand that feeds you. You've heard that saying? I'm sure many of you have. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. In other words, don't exact ill will on a favorable source of sustenance. I mean, when you think about it, that's pretty darn good advice. I would go with that. Why damage or be bad to something that's actually feeding you? But let's take this a step further. I'm going to say not only should you not bite the hand that feeds you, you also shouldn't feed the hand that bites you either. In other words, don't give quarter to negative influences in your life. I'm going to call these vices. The unseen hand, intangible forces. Like these things, even though they're unseen and they're not intangible format, they are no less voracious. And they can take a significant bite out of you. Men, we feel obligated to defend our women. That's something that's encouraged almost from the time you come out of the womb. But I'm going to ask the women, we need your help on this particular one. I would like to think that I can use restraint, but I can't guarantee that. When you see us doing something crazy, we don't need to be encouraged to do something that's going to have life-altering consequences. We don't need a thug. We need a tug and a hug. Your man cannot defend you from the unemployment line. Your man can't defend you from jail. And your man definitely can't defend you from the cemetery.